2007, when I was still the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Education, when I got exposed to the international benchmarking platforms that are focusing on the ability of learners to read and write, especially at lower grades, at grade 3 and at grade 6. There's an international one which is PELS, and there's another one which is called SACMEC, which is focusing on about 15 countries in the continent, in the African continent. And in both reports, South Africa was not faring well in terms of literacy and numeracy for grade 6 learners as well as grade 3 learners. So, to the extent that the former Minister of Education, Dr. Naledi Pandor, decided to pull the country out of SACMEC to allow South Africa to do some work to improve our performance at primary education level, especially issues of reading and writing, that is numeracy and literacy. So we are going to join again in around 2011, but we are giving ourselves enough time. So when I began the MEC of Education, I met the colleagues that are in the language section within curriculum in Umtata. They were conducting a workshop supported by Dr. Naledi Pandor, who was still Miss Naledi Pandor, and from the Western Cape, a specialist on language issues, specializing especially on the mathematics and science, the language of mathematics and the language of science, and the importance of using mother tongue language in introducing other languages like your English. That's why we call it mother tongue based bilingual. It does not exclude other languages, but other languages must be introduced using your mother tongue to deepen the understanding of kids on concepts in their own language that resonates to their own environment, to their own culture, and all that. So that is the reason why some of the white learners are excelling because they are taught in their mother tongue from ECD to higher education. And that is not the case with the African learners. They are introduced to a foreign language at grade 3, grade 4. And it comes as a shock. As a result, we are looking at the dropout rate in that transition between grade 3 and grade 4. The dropout rate used to be very, very high. It was the starting point of a dropout rate, and again, at the end of the intermediate phase, into the senior phase, you would get another dropout rate as new things are coming that are foreign to how they were taught at the beginning. So we wanted to address that problem. So I met this lady in Umtata, and I said, I want her back into the Eastern Cape. So I had to negotiate with her and with Professor Nongengulu, who was acting HOD at the time, that we can't miss the opportunity to have this specialist back in the province. So we negotiated.
So the specialist was based in the Western Cape now?
Ms. Naledi Pandor was based in the Western Cape at the time. So we negotiated with her, she agreed. So we placed him in the department as an acting director to set up that unit. We then wrote to the minister to agree with us to set up this unit so that we can test this thing. And after we've tested, they can learn best practices as well as a country and see whether it can be rolled out or not. So we started with fewer schools, as we were saying, 72 schools. We increased it to about 700 schools, and we piloted it in Qwase. And we're fortunate that...
Why did you choose Qwase?
The district director, Mr. Mtunyangons, was working here at head office before he went there. So he understood this concept, the mother tongue based bilingual education. So he was the best person to pilot it, and he was among the best performing district directors at the time. Qwase was highly performing, and moreover, there were a number of other initiatives like OJET and others that were initiated by that district to improve the quality of primary education in the whole district. So he had best practices and a lot of things that he was testing there. So he was more receptive to the starting of this thing. So that's the reason why we used that as a base. And then after that, we rolled it out to other districts. We then further increased the districts, It then continued, it gained its own momentum. It gained its own momentum. Up to the stage when the learners now were getting to grade 12 for the first time.
In 2020?
Yes. So we negotiated with DPE to say, the learners that we've been testing on this thing, here is the progress that they are making. They are performing better than other learners in math, science, and history, and even in English. Even in English. Because conceptually they are strong. So they're able to play around with English easier.
Because they are confident.
They have confidence that has been restored in them. So that's why they're able to navigate all these learning areas with a bit of confidence. So we said, this is the progress that we've made. We want to pilot about 3 learning areas. That will be, they'll write in English, but the paper must be translated into the language that they were used to in the past 12 years. So for the first time, it was tested on 3 languages. Those learners passed with flying colors.
And the languages were?
I think it was mathematics, it was science, I'm not sure it was history. Those were the 3 learning areas that were piloted. Later on, I think when I came back, I think in 2022, they were increasing that to 6 learning areas. I'm not sure where the process is now, but they increased that to 6 learning areas by 2022. So that's how far we have gone. We then agreed that now that we are at this stage, let's also influence the ruling party to take this thing as a national program. So we went to the policy conference.
Because you saw the results.
The results. So we went to the policy conference of the ruling party. We motivated for this thing. It was adopted. It went to the national conference of the ruling party. It was adopted as a resolution. And anything that is a resolution, then the minister must then run with it. And now that when Dr. Bude left the province, the minister was of the view that they wanted, even when she was still here, they wanted her to go to DBE to drive this program for the rest of the country. So when he left the province, he was then taken by the minister to be a DDG transformation to drive this problem from a national perspective. So that's how far we have gone, and I'm very happy that the minister has taken that decision. To take a person who has got a grasp, he has got a PhD on this thing, is the first one to have a thesis on this subject in the whole continent.
Wow.
So we're not talking about anybody, we're talking about a person of stature who is driving this thing. And I'm very glad with the minister's receptive approach to transformation and her passion to drive this transformation agenda. And that's why we're here. He's receptive, he's supportive, and has been supporting us as a province on a number of other areas. And we're at this stage now. And in terms of the quality of the results this side, in terms of the new areas that we are pursuing, is always very, very supportive. You see, Dr. Naledi Mbude and the unit, what they did was to treat this as a research project. So every step they would record, do assessment, analyze, document. So from 2010 up to now, we have data on how this thing has moved. And I'm happy that DBE felt that to ensure that this thing is not challenged, let's get an independent person. So they got a person from Heads to come and do a research and assess it, whether it is a proper prototype to be rolled out on this matter. And that report, that research report, came up saying there is no other prototype that can exceed the quality of this prototype. And therefore this prototype is the one that must be rolled out and is ready for rollout. But these are other things that will have to be done to enable that rollout. Hence the program that was presented by Dr. Chetty as the timelines for rolling this thing out to other provinces, now 8 other provinces. For 2025, grade 4, 2025, 6, grade 5, 2027, grade 6, and then 2027 for grade 7.
This is really exciting. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time.